I'm Ravi Ramamurthy from the Damore McKim School of Business at Northeastern University. Vijay Govindarajan of the Tuck School. I had the pleasure of writing an article for the inaugural issue of Global Strategy Journal. We called it Reverse Innovation, Emerging Markets and Global Strategy. I want to thank Steve Tallman and Torben Pedersen, the editors of the journal, who encouraged VG and myself to write the article for that issue. I also would like to thank all of the scholars in the field who've picked up on the ideas in that article and run with them and produced many other articles of excellent quality. We really had a very simple idea when we started this project, and the idea was that in today's global economy, it's possible for poor countries to develop innovations that have value in rich countries. And even though it seems counterintuitive that ideas can go from poor countries to rich countries, we felt that we were at the cusp of an era in which we were going to see many more ideas going from poor countries to rich countries. Now, the innovations coming out of poor countries would be different from the innovations coming out of rich countries. For instance, in poor countries, one of the key challenges is how to make products more affordable to the masses. So you're likely to find in poor countries innovations that help to make products and services more affordable to lots of people. These innovations, once you develop them for the poor countries, you can bring them to rich countries and you find that they have many additional applications in the rich countries. And this is the idea that we tried to float in that article. We gave a few examples of companies that were using reverse innovation to develop new products and services. And we felt that this phenomenon also presented some interesting theoretical challenges. And we laid that all out in this initial paper, and we've been very gratified by the response of the academic community to this topic and the amount of research that has followed since. I want to take a step back, and as we look back at how this field has developed, and I'm sorry VG is not able to join us at this taping, but we've had several conversations. As we look back, how has this topic developed? Has it in fact shown momentum, or are we more skeptical about the promise of this idea going forward? And the answer is unambiguously, we think that the promise of reverse innovation is even stronger now than it was a few years back. Let me give you just two examples of some topics on which we are working that illustrate my point. And the first example I would use is healthcare delivery. In the US, we have a huge problem with healthcare costs being out of control, and the quality of care is uneven. And we look for answers. When we look for answers, we keep looking at other developed countries because we think that's where we can find the answers. We think actually you're a better chance of finding creative, innovative solutions for healthcare delivery if you look at poor countries. And the reason is very simple. Poor countries have a lot of people, they have very few doctors, and the patients cannot, most of the time they're paying out of pocket, and they cannot afford to spend very much. So anyone who can provide care under those circumstances has to be a lot more innovative than someone providing healthcare in the US, which is in a very different kind of context. So if you want to learn innovative ideas that you can use to improve US healthcare, you need to look in places like India. We wrote up this initial idea as a Harvard Business Review article. It got a lot of attention, and then people asked us, why don't you complete the task you've started? You've shown us some innovations in India. Now show us that those kinds of innovations would actually work in the US. And that is the book that we're just finishing up to be published by Harvard Business Review Press. That's what some of the work that we've been doing, but let me just mention a few other things we see on the horizon where the promise for reverse innovation is incredible. The one I would select is all of the technologies that have come out of wireless telephony. Okay, so the poor countries like China and India leapfrog to the latest in telecommunication technology, which was cellular telephony. But building on that, they've been able to create all kinds of other businesses like M-banking and M-insurance and M-education and M-healthcare, all of which are based on the digital platform. And these innovations, the poor countries are actually much farther along because they've not been held back by legacy investments in old technologies. And therefore, there are innovations in digital technologies and digital businesses that we think can be brought from poor countries to the rich countries. We hope very much that in the years to come, our colleagues in international business and strategy will pick up on many of these ideas and open up even more interesting frontiers for future research by all of us.